Wonderful. Excellent. Well, hello and good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you to the Friday Focus. My name is Jake Cunningham, and our special guest today is Zane Curfman, and we have some exciting information to share with you. But more importantly, just we want to introduce Zane into our community, welcome him and his knowledge and his history and his experiences and his teachings, because I feel it's a connection and it's an answer for us in many ways, whether you are on that path of finding more spiritual teaching and learning, or you want to just open your eyes to someone who's had these experiences. We're excited to have you on, Zane. And Zane, I'm going to let you just say hello and do a short introduction, who you are, your background, and what brought you here to this moment today.
All right. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Zane Curfman. I am a Soncista Espiritista Brujo, which is an Afro-Caribbean tradition of healing and spiritualism. I'm also a Pacocuna and a curandero of Peruvian traditions of healing and what we in the West call shamanism, which is, kind of a catch-all phrase, but it's the indigenous spiritual traditions of those areas. And through my own apprenticeship, I have learned to connect with a deeper side of my humanity and to bring forth a better version of myself. And that's really what I strive to do for others, is to help them find a better version of themselves to put forward and to really start to live their dreams, and that seems like a pretty corny thing to say sometimes, because people think, our dreams is to be rich or powerful or all these things. But those ideas are coming from a limited perspective of what is possible in this world. And when we get through our blocks and our wounds in the past, we can truly dream a future that embraces our gifts and talents and helps us to share those with the world and inspire others.
Yeah, then that hit home, I think, to everybody on right now, because we are all searching for our own path healing in our own worlds and realms. Yet a lot of these leaders, these teachers that are on, offer these connections, these services to the world and their people right now. So this is a kind of a like-minded mastermind group here, Zane. And I want to ask you a question. It's a little personal, but what brought you into this? What brought you into this? Like, what led you down this path? Tell us a little about the pre-story of what got you into this.
Absolutely. Okay, so my father was a Baptist missionary preacher, so spirituality was always a big part of my life. He was also a master mason or a Freemason. So though he was a preacher of kind of a fundamentalist sect, he was very open to other world religions. And just that alone kind of put me in this place of spiritual authority, even as a child. So a lot of people would come to me, my peers, asking about spiritual matters, things like that. And I was counseling them from the very beginning. I'm also part indigenous or native myself, but we had no connection to those tribes anymore. So that was always a big part of my life and my heart. But I always knew that I was a healer. I always knew that spiritual healing was a part of what I would be doing. And I started actually doing that in my teens. And I was always searching. My grandmother, she used to build altars in the woods to work the altar to do healings for people who were close to her, people who went to her church and things like that. So I kind of grew up in it, and I came from Appalachia, not the mountains, but the foothills of West Virginia. And at the time I was born, there was still a lot of root working, a lot of mystical practices, things we call water witchery, which is just dowsing. But, someone had to be skilled at that to find your well or to find the water. Yeah. So that was the beginning of my path. It was almost like predestined for me, the way things were set up.
No, and that makes sense. That I'm so glad I asked, because part of this journey of us connecting into your resources and you sharing yours with ours is learning a little bit about you as a human and your experience, because I believe each one of us has our has our offerings, and we're led into this work based upon, I think, generations even before us. It's not just, what we choose to do here. And although we do have conscious choice, and many of us have chosen this path of healing, this path of service. And I'm not a direct, I don't work with clients. I support my practitioners to bring information, and I'm just a messenger, thus the analogy of the white dove. Just so you know what that means, what white dove reflects is literally taking a little example and analogy out of the story of the good book, as sure with that dove showing hope, showing that the olive branch and the hope for Noah, that there was information, even though unseen to the naked eye, there was a symbol of hope. There was that information, and really just a messenger. So that's what we're here today. Tell us a little bit about some of the work you're doing in the present time now. Are you working with people individually? I know you're doing these amazing apprenticeship programs. I've talked to Hank about that, and him going through that and being a part of that as well. And for those of you who don't know Hank Satella, Hank is the harmonic shaman. He was on a couple months ago. He was talking about the tuning forks, and that's how I was introduced to Zane being his mentor. So that's the connection here between us and of course White Dove and this Friday Focus group. But tell us a little bit about what you're doing now today in the work you're doing, and share with us any success stories that you've had.
Oh yeah, well, for sure. So I've always been seeing clients since my early 20s, at least. I was doing some more private healing work in my teens, but I still see clients, and I do a kind of spiritual mentoring with them. It's a mixture of spiritual interventions and kind of life coaching, because a lot of people think of these things in a very generic term, like spells and healing and all this kind of weird kind of ideas, where really what it is we're creating a spiritual opening for the person. But if they don't have the courage, if they don't develop what's special inside of them and are ready to show that to the world, it doesn't matter how much magic or whatever you want to call it people throw on you. It's not going to change your life if you don't have the power and the confidence to stand forward and to put yourself out there. So part of it is spiritual mentoring, and part of it is spirit work, where we try to figure out what's going on with the person. Some of the work is generational curses, which is what we call today cycles of abuse, poverty mentality, things like that are the same thing as the ancient indigenous people called generational curses. They're mindsets and ways of thinking that get passed down through generations that limit us to our potentials and possibilities. I've had several really wonderful, miraculous healings in my past. When it was 2004, I was called to work with terminally ill people, and I had my first person was one of my friends that I went to school with, actually, who had, through drug abuse, had led himself down a path where he was now terminal. He had 6 weeks left to live. His esophagus was dissolved. He had 3 shadows in his lungs, and they set a hole in his heart from when they were doing the medical testing. And we met 3 times, and he recovered, and then he moved away from that lifestyle completely. It took him a little bit of time, a little bit of coaching to move away from that lifestyle that was making him sick. But now he has 4 children, he's married, and he's, and that's been like 16, 17 years ago now. Another guy named Chuck, who had brain cancer, who was also terminal, that I got to work with. It was right around the same time. Same type of thing happened, a remission of what was going on with him. And since then, I've had all kinds of different types of clients, some of them being seriously ill, and some of them being more what we call mental pathologies, that they're trying to find a way to work with those mental pathologies. And that's really, in the ancient world, the world of spirit. That is the domain of spirituality, to help you define a new way of seeing the world and to embrace what is going on with you as a gift, which can be very, very hard. But yeah, I still see clients. I do all types of workshops. I Just was hired this year as a seminary faculty for the United Metaphysical Churches. So I've been creating seminary programs that help introduce people to these more indigenous spiritual paths, so that, you know, when they are ministers themselves, they can minister to a wider group of people. Because really, it's, you know, we're all with the same God. There, you know, we're all working the same light.
Well, everything you've said, I think we all can identify with in the work that practitioners do, and of course, the connection of the spirit to the mental, to the physical, and the expression of that. And I got in a conversation with somebody just on Wednesday, a couple of days ago, about what really was, you know, did the chicken or the egg come first? Is it, do you work on the spirit first to help support the physical, or do you do the macro, the food, the lifestyle to connect to the spirit? And we came to a conclusion that there's no first or second, they're connected. I mean, our physical expression, our symptoms, the dis-eases in our body, dis-ease in our body is related to the spiritual and manifests, but also how we treat our bodies, how we choose in our conscious choice of food and relationship and our environment also influences our connection with the spirit. It's not one thing. And it's such a relevant topic, because all of our practitioners who work with the quantum biofeedback or the other modalities, we need to understand we're working with this holistic approach, which is spirit and body and everything in between. What's your thoughts on that, in terms of, do you first focus, of course, that your specialty and your gift you've been given and you've been able to express, and your purpose has been connecting to that spirit, but do you find that working on the spirit first and foremost, is there a priority to that, or would you agree that everyone's unique and different? Or what are your thoughts on that, Zane, in terms of, as a practitioner, should we start looking at the spirit more instead of just the body as a mechanical mechanism? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do believe we should. We have kind of a model that we work with. And so on that model, there's like 4 levels, and these levels are both in ceremony and healing. There are 4 ways that we increase the likelihood of success in healing. So the first level is the biophysical. And this is the level of chemicals, of drugs, of herbs, and all of that.
Yeah.
And so if you have something wrong with you, like if you have a humongous tumor growing and it is growing out of control, I can't say it's the first, but you should primarily think about the physical, because you need to cut this thing out of you. You need to stop its growth in you. So that's the biochemical. Then we have what we call the mental level. And the mental level is psychology. You know, sometimes someone just talking about something has led to remissions in serious diseases because they were pent up. And it was creating the peptides inside their system that was leading to this illness. Then we have what we call the soul level. And the soul level is imagery. It's like the pictures of Jesus and Mary or Krishna or Shiva. And it's imagery that holds so much potential and power within it. It speaks volumes in one image. And we can work at that level. Or we have spiritual, which is the energy level. And the energy level is very simple. It's got like 2 syllables, I like to say, heavy and light. And we're trying to turn the heaviness back into light. And as we do that, it helps the person. So each of these levels can be seen almost like balls within each other. Like if you've ever seen like a golf ball cut open or something like that.
Right.
The mental has a direct impact on the physical. The soul has a direct impact on the mental that has a direct impact on the physical. And the spiritual is like the big one, you know, it has a direct impact on all 3. But I really think for modern usage, we need to kind of go after all. The spiritual is so important, and it is probably the most overlooked aspect. And like I said, I have seen miracles happen, but we never know how long it's going to take a healing to go from that spiritual level to filter down through the soul level, the mental level, to the physical level. So we want to affect that spiritual level. Then we want to help the person create new ideas and understandings to facilitate that healing so that it trickles down faster.
Yeah. No, it beautifully said. The analogy of the golf ball and the spheres within, how they affect. And we need to remember that we're each very individual. There may be one that connects first or easily accessible to the mental or the psychological or the soul or the spiritual, yet they're dealing with the physical. They may start there. And that's where I think we all need to remember, you're not dealing with a linear box type entity when we talk about the human condition, right? It's you need to tune into where they're going to have an opening, and then work with them all. That, I mean, this is just my thinking out loud and my freestyle thought. But what you said, it makes so much sense in the work that we all do, because we are not just a physical being. Although, and many times when people aren't ready to look outside the physical symptom, it can be difficult. What have you experienced anybody, whether it's a one-on-one consult or any of your students through your apprentice programs, who just are stuck? They're stuck in one of those. And I find people get stuck mainly in the physical because it's the pain, or it's something they see, they feel, they can touch. It's one of the five senses they can grasp a hold of. They get locked in, and they can't get out of that. They can't get into, wait a second, I need to work and take a deep breath and work on some of these other levels. How do you break someone out of that? I mean, or is there a time when maybe they're not ready yet and you can only do so much? My point is, the practitioners sometimes run into, and I run into, people who their consciousness isn't even there to go any deeper than the physical. What's your thoughts on that? What's your approach when someone's really stuck in one of those areas that, and they're not open to work on these other things?
Yeah. For me, I've noticed that most of the time people are stuck in the physical or the mental level.
Right.
And they kind of play, they kind of play off of each other. The physical, mental, and emotional, they all kind of are wrapped up into one matrix that really can, because usually when someone is stuck on the physical, they have a mind concept too. Like a lot of times we feel that feeling pain or any type of suffering we go through is a punishment from God. So
Right.
that alone cuts them off from the spiritual as a way to help their condition, because they are scared of the spiritual because they're holding a guilt or a shame for something in their past. So it's really a tricky thing. It's about tracking and helping them to discover. You can't do it for them. It's empowering the individual. Part of the work of a spiritual healer is actually to empower the individual so that their own healing mechanisms take hold and start to work. So
Yep.
it gets really hard if someone is stuck in physical suffering, because like I said, there's a mental emotional component to that, and they're not capable of changing that. So one of the things that you have to make sure is that the client understands that spiritual interventions bring about great amounts of change. They can change everything in their life. Like there's one kind of disease or disorder, we might call it, called susto. It's magical fright. We call it soul loss. So where a piece of your vital energy, your psyche, gets broken off because a trauma happened to you. And that piece takes the trauma with it, and it's kind of locked off in your subconscious, and you're not able to access it. And so you can't really change or feel differently because you're having a limited amount of what you really are is available, is online for you to process. So in those cases, a person has to really understand that by doing the healing, they're going to create a humongous amount of change. They might feel some things that they don't like to feel. They might have to remember things that they don't like to remember, because that's the only way to access the wound and to clear that debris from the wound so that they can start to move forward in their lives.
Then that change sometimes is uncomfortable, and
Absolutely.
I think a role of ours and many of our practitioners is to do your very best to nurture them, support them through it. But you said something that's really profound, and I just want to recap and remind everybody that it's not your job, it's not our jobs to fix, heal, cure anyone. You're a facilitator, you're a partner of theirs in their own work that they're doing. The ownership, the responsibility, that own awareness and consciousness has to be connected to it. And I talk a lot about I sometimes have just messaging or marketing. How do we verbalize the value of the work we do, and in this market of high competitive advertising, all this, and also how do you deal with people who sometimes aren't the perfect or ideal people, and setting boundaries for oneself. And it is a way, if someone's not able to take that responsibility, I want to just remind that everyone has permission to say, when you're ready, I'm here for you. But you can set that healthy boundary, because you need to also protect your physical, mental, your soul, and spiritual body too, in order for you to give as healers. So it's a good reminder.
There's also another component that a lot of healers don't think about, and that is humbleness. We have got to be humble enough to understand that sometimes this client's not for us. In the Andes, we say it's not for my hands. This person's not for my hands, but maybe I know someone that it is for. Because it's all about how you vibe with someone. It's all about how your energies connect. And every healer is not supposed to heal every person. There are times that you have to be humble and honest and look at the person and say, you know what? I don't think I have the medicine you need right now. But I think Jake over here has the medicine you need. Go see him. And that's part of supporting each other, because part of healing is creating a strong community, and we've got to be able to really focus on that and help to uplift each other in these communities as well.
That's one of the principles. Sorry, my Bluetooth is set up to my phone, and I'm gonna just disconnect it here.
No worries.
I know. So I like. Let's see if that works. It took me away, but I think I got the point what you were saying, and I hope everyone else did. But the last thing I took is it's okay. The humility that we need to bring. It's okay to not have that solution at that moment for that person at that time, and that's okay. It's
Absolutely.
okay. And it's also a reminder of how important it is to get out of your own headspace, mental focus, because our instruments are so phenomenal, but to connect with other healers in your network and in your market and in your community. Because the old saying, it takes a village, it's not just for raising kids, right? It's for our communities. Our communion is about working together and collaborating together. And you're not alone. I know a lot of us feel alone right at this time, because we're all virtual, we're all in our own bubbles. We're not able to go out to the shows, the concerts, the movies, the dinners like we normally. And so I think this work is even more important. That's why I think the work of the energy workers that we have on is going to be so much more important, because of this disconnect and the fear that lives in the mental and the soul, the spiritual, and then of course the physical, which is what the fear right now is all based around, the virus and things of that nature. So tell us, Zane, what is in the future? What's going on with you and your programs? I really want to talk and make time to learn about this apprenticeship program, because I did some research, and it's something I'm interested in personally. But I know that my network are definitely would be interested in this, but also people they may know, their clients, their family members, their sons, their daughters, their brothers. Give us a breakdown of what that entails. I know it's a 7 or 8 week program, Um,
It's 9 month actually.
oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I meant months, but it's 9 months. I know it was a month. It's tell us a little bit about that, what that journey looks like. I know I'll share your site, I'll share your information here when we're finished, but I want to hear from you as the leader of this and the creator. Tell us a little bit about this and what that entails.
Absolutely. Okay, so it's a 9 month apprenticeship, which is the same amount of time it takes a new life to gestate. And it gives us enough time to change our behaviors, our thinking patterns, and grow. We're following an ancient process of personal development that is hidden in the shamanic traditions of the Andes. The shamanic traditions of the Andes, especially the Q'ero tradition that comes from the Q'ero tribe, is one of the world's oldest traditions of indigenous spirituality that has been what we call a living tradition, meaning there's never been a time that it hasn't been practiced. And these people who were my teachers, they live in the mountains above Cusco, Peru, about 16,000 to 21,000 feet above sea level. It's a 7 hour drive to the base camp to hike another 7 hours or so into the first village. Actually, sorry, a 3 hour drive, then a 7 hour hike. So if they get injured, they can't rely on getting to medical service in the modern way. They have to rely on their curanderos, their healers, to do the work for them. So what this is a traditional approach that was taught to me that holds these processes of personal development. It takes about 9 months, and we do it all virtually. It takes about 9 months to move through it, and we call it the path of the wounded healer, which I believe was coined by Carl Jung. But it's the idea that to be a healer and to bring service to the world, you need to heal what's broken in you. You have to experience spiritual healing to then be able to perform it on others. You have to have one-on-one experience. So we move through the different aspects of ourselves: mental, emotional, spiritual, soul, physical, and we learn to remove, divest the things that are holding us back in our lives. And it's not just for healers, though the site does say become a spiritual healer, mentor, visionary in 9 months. That's one goal of it. Another goal of it, and this is what healing does, is to discover your unique spiritual gifts, because everyone has unique gifts. You have unique gifts with connecting to the people. When we embrace those gifts, when we grow those gifts, the grace of spirit moves through us. I like something Fred Rogers once said, that someone was thinking about killing themselves, and they were driving down the road and they were going to smash their car into a semi. And then they heard their daughter in the back seat singing "Won't You Be My Neighbor" or one of his songs, and it completely changed their mind. We never know when we embrace our gifts and shine forth we never know how it will inspire others. That's the gift of spirit, is how it can go out and inspire others. So the program is to develop that in you, and then how you can offer those unique gifts as healing service to the world. And as you were saying, we're in a time of global trauma right now. This kind of information, these kind of well-trained healers are going to be needed for the future. As we start to come out of this and carve a new normal, we're going to need people who can help people get beyond the fear, help them to slow down and stop the fight or flight system, because everyone's in fight or flight right now. Do I have my mask? Everyone's in that state where they're not sure what's going to happen. And we're getting locked into it. And that creates a horrible mixture of chemicals on the biochemical level, cortisol and adrenaline pumping through us at just minor little things. So we're going to need skilled healers and skilled people who can help to remedy that situation. But as I was saying, it takes you through your own life. It helps you to heal the wounds, the limiting beliefs, and manifest a better future for yourself. Whether that is being a healer, a mentor, or a visionary, or being a talk show host, or putting yourself out there as an author, whatever your unique gifts are, you know that by applying them and shining them in the world, you're going to offer a healing service, and you're going to inspire others to live their dreams.
Well, I think this is amazing and wonderful. There isn't a there's not a program like this through our training systems. We have some more specific biofeedback certification. We've got a group program, or where we have professional users come. It's more like a business development, quantum results, where we offer structure for their clinics. We have my dad's homeotherapeutic coach course, which is a correspondence course. But something like this, see, why I wanted to share this and have Zane on with everybody is this may be for you. This may speak to your heart right now as practitioners listening. You may also have your clients who are looking for some path or some leadership, some form of structure to get clarity with their connection of who they are and what they want to bring forth. When we align that with our people, even with ourselves, the sky's the limit, and life becomes joyful. It becomes fun. It becomes stress-free. And you hit the nail on the head, Zane. This fight or flight response, that stress response, this sympathetic and parasympathetic imbalance, and how we need to move people out of this sympathetic adrenaline, like you said, cortisol, all the stress hormones that are ruining, wreaking havoc physically on our body. It's all connected to these other levels that Zane talked about earlier. And so reconnecting, and when you have purpose, when you wake up and you know what that mission is and purpose, it's not just a masculine thing. It's not a feminine thing. That's a human thing. We all need that. We all need to have clarity in that. And also, when things go different and we're thrown these things like a pandemic, or like a relationship, a loss of a loved one, which we experienced in my family closely over the holidays, which was it was expected but unexpected because of the time was very short, and I'm still processing that. It gives us the tools and strength to cope in our own lives, but especially as leaders. These are leaders who are on this call. These are all practitioners of successful clinics. They're doing this work for their friends, their family, and there's some practitioners on here. Constance they've been doing this work. Helen, Jen just started, but she's excited and absorbing all this information as she is learning. Jennifer is getting into this. Joy, Margaret, Pat, Patricia, we've got some very experienced people here who are leading forward, and we need to be aware of these resources out there. And that's the purpose, you guys, for the focus today, is to welcome and have Zane join our community to share. There's unconditional. There's no connection with White Dove to this program too. This is actually a connection I made through Hank Satella, the harmonic shaman who was on doing all the tuning forks that many of you ordered, which I recommend everyone order a tuning fork. The reason is, when you're talking about the biofeedback, excuse me, Zane, I just want to talk to the audience for a moment. When you're doing the biofeedback and you're trying to connect and show how the resonance works with someone, when you run a certain program and it's helping to tune the body, well, there's no greater analogy and visualization and senses, the sound, the visual, the auditory, the feeling, to show, let me show you how this is working analog. Here's a tuning fork, ding, bringing it closer to the other, that resonance. This is what we're doing. That's how the biofeedback works on a digital platform. There's no better. Have one, get a couple of those key ones. I just want to plug Hank because he's the one who connected us. But I love that you're open. I'm so grateful you were able to just jump on last minute. I want to now open it up to questions and see if anybody has any questions for us at all. Please, everybody, ask Zane any questions or comments. Please share your thoughts too if you've enjoyed this, learning from Zane and everything he's doing. This is the beginning of having you on again, Zane. So I know last minute we didn't plan any specific topic. I appreciate you being a pro and freestyling it with me. I really appreciate it. And our people are just phenomenal. So let me see here. Question. We're treating, so Naomi is, well, I have an idea for you, Naomi. Naomi and Doug, Naomi's a licensed acupuncturist in Oregon, and her husband does the quantum biofeedback work and is an artist. Just a phenomenal, amazing couple, dear colleagues and friends of mine. And she asked if we're treating a newborn baby with jaundice and not sure if there are some special programs to help. Thank you. Naomi, is that specific for the biofeedback? I do know that the blue light therapy helped my son who had jaundice. His bilirubin in the liver wasn't kicked on. Being up here in Michigan, there's not natural sun. He was born in November. There was not a lot of natural vitamin D production from the sunlight. And the blue lights actually were the same spectrum as in the hospital that they wanted to have him go in for after a day of being in this physical being here with us. And we used the blue lights for a week, and we kick-started it and naturally. But that you can answer that, Zane. I don't know if you want to clarify that, Naomi. Is that for Zane or is that a biofeedback question? And if you have any comments, Zane, you can answer that.
You know, of course, jaundice is just not the liver kicking in properly and producing the enzymes it's supposed to start producing. Any kind of healing that helps to clear and bring the energy into the elimination organs, the kidneys, the bladder, the liver. You want to get them all moving together. If you laying hands on the stomach where the liver is, and imagining, you know, people don't really think about how powerful visualization and imagination is, but when we discipline it, you can really start to flow energy in there. Really connecting with the earth, it's really important because the earth is part of that illumination process. So bringing earth energy, earth prana, however you work with that, perhaps the meridians that connect to the earth energy would help with that.
Mm-hmm. There's also some acute things in the biofeedback. Also, I want everyone to know, if you have questions about specific cases, things of this nature, feel free to contact my father and the clinic at White Dove Healing Arts. You can go to whitedovehealing.com, check out. I'll give you the phone number right here, just so you guys can call. Give them a call. They're Diane, Patricia are there to help, you know, answer questions. They don't have all the answers. We don't claim ever to be, but they have experience working on these things. And then if you need more specifics, you can contact and get a hold of my father too. So I'm just gonna make sure people have that clinic information. Most of you do already. And just so you know, Zane, my dad's been practicing for almost 30 years. Since 1990, he opened White Dove Healing Arts outside of Boulder, Colorado. And that's my hometown. And may peace and healing happen to Boulder right now. They had again, how relevant is what we're talking about to what's happening, though? It happened just in my hometown in Boulder and across the country and across the world. This happens every day. It's just when it hits home, it's on the media, it's on mainstream. It's, you know, this is happening around the world where there is a disconnect with reality and in a mental. This Muslim young man was picked on. He was teased. He was, like all teenagers do with each other. Why do some people have the discipline to cope and others don't? Well, it's this disconnect with this model that I was making notes on that Zane was talking about. And that's an extreme example. But if that's also a way your work makes a difference that you can sometimes never measure. You don't know what you've prevented in the work, yet you do know what that it makes a difference and it resonates out. I love that comment you had on intention and imagination. Imagination is one of the most amazing, powerful things that we have. And if you can get someone to buy in with you as well with your imagination, it's double profound. Look what we created today, Zane. I contacted you 45 minutes before this and said, my special guest isn't coming. Can you get on? No problem. You drove 30 minutes to get to the internet connection that made sense, and you're here, and we're connecting these thoughts, which hopefully can stimulate and inspire us all to take action and connect to the spiritual healer that we all, I believe, are. But yeah, so 303-828-4439, and that's the White Dove Clinic. What I want to do now is I want to share you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask. I'm going to share my site or your sites here so people can learn how they can get a hold of you. And here is Zane doing some work in the different indigenous care. Is this in the Andes? Where is this?
Yeah, that over there when you see me holding the baby, that's my goddaughter. Yeah. That's actually a Kero family that I'm a part of. I married into, which marriage is a little different there. I'm married to both the husband and the wife and all the children, but that's my goddaughter I'm holding. And we did a special naming ceremony. She's named after my mother. She's Loretta Eileen Scoliapaza. And that's my Kero family there. And then in the center is some of my teachers that I have pictures of. I didn't always have a reliable camera when I was with my teachers. Yeah, these were all taken in the Andes.
Oh, wonderful. And if you guys want to go here, transcendentminds.org is the website. And I will post this too in the replay for the replay so people can access it. I'm going to just actually do that in the chat real quick so people can take note. And then also, this is the Wild Hearts Medicine Society. This, I believe, is the course information. Is this correct? Is this the
other one is actually the course information. Yeah, right. The other one is Transcendent Minds is Hank's organization, and him and I put together the apprenticeship program together. So it's called The Art of Spiritual Healing is the name of the apprenticeship program. And the other one, the Wild Hearts Medicine Society, that's my personal page with the work that I do, things that are coming up, things like that.
Wonderful. No, there's a, I want to show you guys something that I saw. Well, this video, watch this video. I watched this. This will talk about not just the program, but it'll have some actual testimony. People have gone through it. And it's really powerful to hear how people were affected by a program is really important. Just like I mentioned, and remind everyone to get your own testimonies, everybody, in your own practices. It's powerful. Other people's testimony in the work. This is marketing, Jake, happening, but it's so important. It's so powerful, but it's really exciting, and I'm interested in that. When is it starting? May
4th.
May 4th?
The learning platform opens on May 4th, and we'll have our first live call a week from then. I think it's May 11th is the first live call. Most of the lessons are in video and written form, so people can do them in their own leisure. So we're only, most weeks it's 2 to 3 hours. That's including the phone call or the live call, 2 to 3 hours of work a week. That's another reason why it's 9 months long. So it doesn't interfere with your life, but it enhances your life.
Yeah. And that's important. Logistics, sometimes something, even though it could be the most amazing needed thing, if it's not attainable and in your life, it can't happen. So that really matters. That was a question I had, is what the structure is. So it's live and study, right? There's once a week you do a Zoom meeting, or how does that work?
Yeah, once a week we have a Zoom meeting, and the Zoom meeting is kind of a question and answer session for the lessons. So people have a chance to go over the material, and then if they have questions, formulate those questions. Because if you just do it all with live meetings, like Zoom meetings, there's people who have questions and they never get to ask them because they haven't formulated them yet over the material.
Yeah.
So in this way, you get to digest the material, then you get to come to the meeting and you can ask your questions. The meetings also serve as coaching time to help coach people who need some coaching. And it's a time when we will do breakout groups and people can actually practice the healing techniques and the other techniques with each other. And they can actually see how they're helping each other grow and change.
Yeah. Again, sharpen your saw. Everyone, you heard that. You have to reinvest as a healer, and that was one of the gems throughout our conversation, Zane, how important it is and you were sharing the story of the spiritual healers need to actually experience it and go through it in order to become that. And most of, if not every practitioner who I work with is on their own journey of healing, which
Yes.
makes them so gifted and such a it's not just a traditional, oh, he's got experience, she's got experience, so that makes her an authority. But no, you've walked it, you've lived it. There's a belief in it. When you have that authentic belief, that true, where it's your truth, that's where people buy in and they will follow your lead as you connect with them as a trusted advisor in their life. And you're not doing it for them, but you become that true mentorship, that coach that you guys are. And many of us, if not everybody is on that path ourselves. I know I am. My dad, my background, my pops was doing this work, grew up in Boulder, blessed. My mom has a health food cooking school of natural cooking. My dad got into this work when we were just little, very, very blessed. Yet, if I didn't believe this, if I didn't walk this and see the effects of these technologies and the lifestyle and how it can support people, I wouldn't be effective at what I do right now. So double down on your belief, you guys. Recommit yourself, whether it's through Zane's program, whether it's through another training. Continue to sharpen the saw is my point. Continue to invest in yourself and search out. And right now is a really good time because many of us are doing virtual. So if you can add this block of time in over the course of this next through now to the, what is it? So 9 months, what does that go through? So it goes through the new year. What does it end in January?
Yeah, it goes right into the new year. And then, and it's, one of the things I didn't mention is that all these techniques, all these processes you learn are to help you to have a one-on-one relationship with the divine. So in the end, your authority does not come from me. I don't need your faith. I don't want you to have faith in what I teach you. I want you just to practice the things that I give you, apply them to your life, have your experiences, and that will create your faith. And, then you connect directly to the source. You get your information from the source. I just give you a guide to get there.
Excellent. So 500 first payment, 250 a month onwards. Amazing. Or 2250, you guys, for a 9-month course. Amazing. That's awesome. And again, contact Zane. I'll put his information. How can people get a hold of you, Zane? If you want, I don't know if you're on the chat. If you want to type in your email, I want people to be able to
find the chat. I'm not so tech savvy here. Yeah.
The technology. I love it. So my screen, yeah, I'll ask that question, John or Robin.
Okay, there's my email address. That's really the best way to get a hold of me, or through Facebook, because where I live most of the time is out in the woods, and I really have no cell connection or anything like that. So my email or Facebook or one of those platforms is the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Wonderful. Awesome. Karen, that's Karen's. You can take that info. Yeah, Karen Kurtzma, she's based out of Wisconsin. Wonderful practitioner, longtime friend of ours. John and Robin Van Norman, another great couple who does this work and helps people and is quite busy. They asked, how to help vaccine injured or autistic? Any thoughts on those two kind of categories, Zane, coming from your experience?
Yeah, I've had some experience with both. So especially autism, it's a very strange, it's a strange thing. Part of it is getting comfortable with the fact that this is a unique way for that person to experience the world. It may have been created by an injury from vaccines. It may have been created another way, but what we have to do is move forward from where we are. So it's good to know what caused it, but we have to move forward and see that as a unique experience. They have a unique way of looking at life. And especially autism, when it's not the more severe forms of autism, it creates, it creates miraculous people, really spectacular
Yeah.
people who they aren't able to have their mind focused on a broad set of information, but they're able to focus down and niche down into one category. And I've known autistic people who once they've learned to accept their unique way of functioning in the world, and to realize that it is a unique way, that they are functioning uniquely. We all do in this world. Then they can find their gifts and they can apply their gifts as well. I also worked with a boy who was born, who they called it autism, but what actually caused it was as soon as he was born, he wasn't breathing. He had too narrow of esophagus or something like that, and he wasn't able to breathe. So he had like 5-10 minutes of oxygen deprivation that led to kind of a brain disorder. It led to a damaged brain, and he was one of the most miraculous little boys I ever worked with. He was just,
Mm-hmm.
he noticed the energy, he noticed things. There were part of healing, and people don't always get this, is that healing is not always the removal of symptoms. It is how can we live a full life even if those symptoms aren't removed? How can we establish the connections within ourselves? Like one of my teachers, Don Modesto, in Peru, he was struck by lightning, and that's one of the traditional calls of the shaman, is being struck by lightning 3 times. And he is completely healed from that lightning bolt. But at times his hand and everything on the right side of his body kind of, almost palsies
Mm-hmm.
up, and he
Mm-hmm.
has some trouble moving, but he doesn't feel suffering from it. And he doesn't feel less than anyone else because he has been healed from it. That's the difference between healing and curing.
Mm-hmm.
Healing is finding a way to operate in the world and to better yourself and to change the conditions of your life. Curing is a miraculous thing that sometimes stems from healing, where a person has a complete remission of what was going on with them. I've seen both, and both are very valuable.
That's a great um, differentiation, because we are all, facilitating and being part of someone's healing process, their healing process.
Yep.
And cure, a lot, again, without getting into the legalities of who owns those words. We all know that story. We don't need to go down that road here. That'll be another topic. Um, but that's a great differentiation of those. A cure, of course, is a complete remission, but healing is the journey to not just cope, but to thrive with what gifts they've been given. And talking about autism, there's an amazing story. We're doing we shared this with Amber Black, as a fitness professional. She was on a couple weeks ago, and she is autistic. There's various strains. It's just like the human condition. How many different types of humans? We're all unique. I feel the same in terms of that label, autism, introverted. We all have different, and there's different times when I'm very autistic. There's times where I lock out the world. Time goes out the window, Zane. Like literally. I mean, I turn my cell phone off. I need to go live in the woods close to you and just shut down this stuff. And I literally get into hyper focus mode where and I don't do this anymore because I've got the little ones, I got my wife, I got business, but I would go into a hyper focus where I'd work 24, 48 hours straight on a video project or something. And then poof, I come back into reality. That's a form of autism. It's a form of just totally introverted, where nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Yet you have these different spectrums. Amber's awesome. She's documenting her work with these different tools she's using holistically. Yet her outlet and what she's created in her physical body, she's a physical specimen. She's very smart, very savvy. She works in a medical spa. Anyone would think she's a complete perfect success. Yet she's been dealing with this internal autism that explains a lot of her childhood and why she was always dismissed, outcast from family, stuff like this. And she's going to be telling the story through a docuseries that we're doing, which is really exciting, connecting all these instruments and tools. And I want to share and connect you guys too at some point, because she's got a huge network of autisticfit.org, autistic fit or autisticfitsociety.org is her nonprofit, and just really cool. But and then the inventor of our biofeedback system, Daniel, he's my age, I think he lives down in he's down in Ohio. He's autistic, and that's the whole that's the whole creation, that's the whole driving force of why those technologies are even here, is because of that. So
Yes.
think about that. Think about how. So anyway, well, you guys, we're wrapping up the hour. I want to just give everybody a chance to ask any questions or say thank you. Say hello, goodbye to Zane and myself. Let's see. Patricia asked, "Hi, Patricia. Naomi, biofeedback. Naomi, regarding the question, jaundice. Yeah, that's a question. Definitely. Let's chat and let's reach out to my dad. He's got some great, not just a protocol, but also some of the nutraceutical stuff to support the liver function for all ages there." Patricia asked, "Do you use things like sage to clear energy, and are tobacco to be offered up just examples? Do you use any physical kind of
We
herbal
sometimes
type
use
things?"
Palo Santo and Florida water, which is basically a lavender-based water. And one of the ideas is that's a biochemical thing. So you use a scent that if you go back into like apparitions and stuff of Mary and things like that, people smell lavender and rose and things like that when a heavenly apparition happens. So if you biochemically recreate those scents, it can have that effect. I personally think sage is used way too much. It has its purpose and when it is useful, but people use it as like a catch-all, clear all, energy, set everything right energy, and it doesn't always work that way. So there are different scents, there's different herbs, they all have a different biochemical action when you're burning them. Desert sage, especially, which is a different type of sage, is antimicrobial. So people used to use it and give themselves in the desert sage baths, the indigenous people, as a way of cleaning themselves physically, of getting rid of the microbes that are on their body so that they didn't have body odor and things like that, because water wasn't available to shower or to bathe with. So there's many different herbs for many different purposes.
Oh yeah, sage. I got to clear some emotional connection to sage. Growing up, my mom would burn it through the house all the time and cook the Chinese herbs on the stove. And it was like, I've gotten some emotional blocks to that. So when my wife does it sometimes, it takes me back. I need a clearing somehow. Maybe I could have one of you, give me a clearing sometime. But on a serious note, I want to say thank you, Zane. Thanks for stepping into a new audience, showing up so authentically, being just on point with what you're doing and who you are. We appreciate you. We are excited to see your programs and you thrive, and we're really grateful. So I want to just extend that gratitude and let you have the last word, the last thoughts on the focus call.
All right. Really, I want to see everyone live their dreams and to really connect with what makes them special. And whether it's through my program, another program, your own intuition, just be awake and alive and listen to spirit in your life, because it speaks to us through synchronicities, through omens, through chance occurrences. Don't just throw those out. Really pay attention, because if you do, you'll realize the whole universe is conspiring on your behalf.
Wonderful. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Stay healthy, stay motivated, stay happy, stay connected. We'll see you next week. Until next time, blessings. Bye-bye. Thanks, Zane. Everyone's saying very interesting. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Zane. Wonderful. We love you all. Take care. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.